Hello, 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 good evening, and welcome to tonight's edition of Visibility Made Easy. These run from Monday to Friday, 7 p.m. UK time, 11 a.m. EST, and 2 p.m. PDT. So, my name is Jenny Kovacs, and I'm known as the Queen of Being Seen. I'm the Queen of you being seen. I speak about all things visibility so that you're seen, so that you're heard, and so that you get visible, so that you're remembered and so that you're noticed, and that people point to you and at you as being the expert, the person who talks about the thing, or the person who does the specialism in their field. So, who is visibility for? Well, visibility is for anybody who is in business or very entrepreneurial minded, or even anyone who's thinking about it. Maybe you've done it before and it didn't work out and you're thinking of starting it again. If so, it's completely for you. So tonight I'm going to be sharing a few visibility nuggets that are designed really to help you to get out there, but also I'm just going to pin post on here so that if you join, you know exactly what this is about. So at the beginning of the week, I wrote an article, and it was called Weird but Wonderful. You'll find it somewhere down there. If you scroll back, I published it on Monday, I believe. Feels like a long week already. I published it earlier in the week, and it was Weird but Wonderful. And it talked about all the aspirations that we have to get out there, to be seen, to be heard, to be noticed, and how sometimes we don't, we kind of struggle, if you like, or we force that recognition. And then before we know it, we all of a sudden are being recommended, or something really great happens in our life or in our business, and it makes all of that kind of strain and worry pay off. But here's the thing, I'm not a fan of the strain and worry. So there's two things I'd like you to do for me tonight just before I get going. I have got no Mac with me tonight. It's over there. I'm about to pack up and take a journey from London to Cambridge in the UK. So if you can hear me okay, because I haven't got my microphone on, if you can hear me, which I presume you can, just type in the box and say hi, and if you could just send me a thumbs up or a love heart so that I know whether it's working on my screen or not, or whether I have to make a mad dash over to my iPod or not. So I'll give you a few seconds to just to do that. I can see a number count, but I can't see comments or anything at the moment. So mad dash to the iPod it will be. Give me a second. Because that either means that you can't hear me and you can just see me moving my mouth, which isn't very helpful, but it definitely means that I can't see any comments. So I am going to have to log in to my own Facebook Live, which I always think is a bit of a strange thing to do. Thank goodness I've got another device. If not, I could go for the iPod, but although it's a miniature one, I would prefer not to spend the whole time looking down at you. So if you've just jumped on, know that I can't see who you are, I can't see you, but you can see me. So do pop a little comment in the box, say hi, tell me where you're watching from, what you're up to now. Are you multitasking and doing dinner, looking after the kids, putting them to bed, watching TV, or anything else? So let's just have a look. I just need to make sure that everything is working. So if you can see me, if you can hear me, I know you can hear me because I could hear myself on here. If you could just type hello or a comment in the box so I can see the comments. Hey, excellent. Thank you for that, Ian. Thank you. Hey up. Good evening, says Ian. So good evening. So thank you for doing that. And I can see the love hearts too. Brilliant. Thank you. That makes a lot of sense. So I was about to just like abandon the broadcast and try and start again, but that's brilliant, which means I can also put my iPod down. So I made a note because I hear so many reasons that people tell me why they can't do visibility, and normally it comes from a place of they think they need to do more or be more. Sometimes there's a bit of a fear factor that comes in. Now, people don't tend to present and show to me as being like terrified, but they're reasons of why they won't or can't do something. So what I thought I would do is like on my clipboard here, I wrote down like things that I've heard very recently. In fact, I wrote down a whole load of things today when I was kind of doing a brainstorming exercise here. On my trusted post-it notes, I wrote them down and then I pulled off a couple because these are ones that I hear the most. So kind of starting in no particular order. One of the reasons that people give me that they can't do visibility is because they say, well, people tell me I need an email list, I need to email out to them, and I don't have a list yet, so I can't be visible yet. And that simply isn't true. One of the things that I love about the work that I do, so for any of you that are watching this that are new or on the replay, my system is a visibility vibe system. And it isn't a cute system that I just put together in isolation in a room. I worked with a mentor actually in America for over a year, and throughout that time put lots of pieces, missing pieces of the puzzle together in my business. And one of them was identifying like what was I doing that was having people stand out, because visibility is quite invisible to people. It's a hard gig, it's a tough gig. Beata's saying hello to Ian, that's nice. I love the way you all say hi to each other. So it's quite a tough thing to be able to get people to understand like its value. So you have to become really astute in talking about what it does. So one of the first exercises that I did in order to like even realise that I had a system, because in all honesty I didn't think I had one, was to look at what I do day in, day out with clients, whether they come and work with me one-to-one, in a get it done in a day, whether they go through a program with me that I orchestrate, whether that program had one person on it or 50 people on it. When I speak from a stage, there's certain habits and certain repetitions, certain ways I identify clients. So I did all of that and realised that there were 5 very key elements. And although they don't necessarily have to come in a certain order, it helps if they do it in this particular way. So bizarrely, in order to be more visible, you need to start being visible in some way, shape or form. Now, how does that happen? There are various different ways you can get out there. You can speak it, you can write it, you can record it, you can film it, you can shout it from the rooftops. But visibility and making the start and being visible is actually like a catalyst to everything else. Yet traditionally, we're told it's the other way around. Then the next thing that I realised was that some people weren't really being impressionable. So people would like them, people would get on with them, but they weren't coming back for more. They weren't being magnetic. And this was like slowing people down, especially those people, which I seem to attract these people into my communities, into my life. They've got this desire in their stomach, they've got this deep desire in their belly to go out and do good in the world, and they get tripped over at the first hurdle because they're saying things like, oh, I don't have an audience yet, or I don't have a list, or I don't really know how to describe what I'm doing. Which is the next step in the visibility vibe system, the third step. And then I'm going to skip a step and go straight to the end, because people don't know how to talk about what they do or sell the value of what they do. So they could be out networking and somebody wants to work with them, and they'll have a conversation there that is kind of inappropriate and not in the right place, and then they won't get that person as a client, and then they'll wonder what they've done wrong. Or they will make an appointment for someone to speak to them. Those of you in the coaching world will know of these as strategy sessions, but you'll speak to somebody and they'll be like, you're so wonderful, you're so lovely, they'll go off happy, you go off happy, and then suddenly you find that you're kind of not really making the money in your business that you'd hoped that you would. That saddens me. So going back a step in the vibe system, the 4th step, which is the E, is the energy that you extend. So many people get burnt out trying to get out there, trying to do their businesses, and I see really clearly they're doing it the wrong way round. So tonight I'm just going to cover what to do if you've got no list yet, what to do if you have a list, maybe you've inherited a list from an old business and now you're switching what you do. How do you kind of, make that transition, which is the same as kind of as if you didn't have a list, and any other questions actually that you've got, because I'd like this to be as interactive as possible. So I can see some comments, I'll read those first. So Ian is definitely multitasking. Tonight he's cooking Thai green prawn curry and prawn tom yum soup. Oh my gosh. Ian should be a chef. He's a very multi-talented man. He walks like these massive walks, like he walked Hadrian's Wall last year. You cook all of this stuff, but you help people with their web systems. Multi-talented. Beata says, thanks to you, Jenny, I'm realising more and more how much I can do for my clients. High five. High five, Beata. Interesting, because I know we spent some time together recently, and it kind of like it. There's an assimilation piece. It's almost like osmosis that goes in. It goes in and people think, I'm good, I've got this information, I can go. And as things settle in, they realise more of what they either want or more of what they need. So thank you for saying that, and well done to you, because I love that you're noticing how much you can do as opposed to what you can't do. Really important. Yes, your workshop was a huge catalyst for me. Oh, thank you. The workshop that she speaks of, I'll be remiss not to mention it, was the Oh What Shall I Share workshop. So I've already put 2 dates out now and they are full. So the third date is the 1st of April in Blackheath in London. I will only take 6 people there because you all have individual time with me on what we call like a boost seat, and you get to ask your question, get to hear my answers, but also get feedback from other people in the room, normally after that, so that you can absorb the information. So thank you for saying that. Beata saying no list here. Alan saying hi Jenny, hi everyone. Hello. So we've got Alan, we've got Beata, we've got I think we had Ali on, but I think she had to go for a call. We've got Ian. I think we had France Lees. I don't know if she's still on. And I think maybe Ruth Ellen's on as well. I hope so. So, no list yet. Or maybe you've been out there and you want to start growing your list. Maybe you want to write a book. Maybe you want to start thinking of selling a program, a new program. Maybe you just want to do it differently because what you did before wasn't working. Either way, this is why visibility is important. So, let's sort of jump into that. Let's tackle that. And if you've got questions, please do ask them as we go along. So the reason why visibility comes first, whether it's your first day, whether it's something that you're thinking about doing, or even whether it's something that you've been doing for a while, is if you're not consistent with your visibility, if you're not consistent in getting out there in some way, shape or form, it's almost like you get forgotten about. Not that they will forget about you per se, but there's lots of other distractions, lots of other white noise, lots of other things to take up people's time. You've only got to check somebody's inbox to see how many emails they get a day, even when they're expecting or looking out for it, how many emails they get. You've only got to, you know, kind of like look at all the different posts that you see on Facebook now, all the ads, go onto any form of social media, go to a networking group and walk into a room full of people. I mean, here in London, it's not too unusual to walk into a networking meeting and have 60 people in the room and not even know who to talk to first. You know, and then you might go to a seminar and have what is known as a multi-speaker event, where you have 6 or 7 people that all tell you that their way is the best way, and before you know it, you haven't got the chance to really absorb anything that anyone said. So visibility is really, really important. So here's some things you can do if you haven't got any list whatsoever. So one of the things is to think about, like, if you've got no list whatsoever, imagine that you've now got 100 people on your list and you're going to speak to them on a regular basis. You need to start thinking about what you're going to speak to them about. Start thinking about how often you want to speak to them. Start thinking about how you're going to communicate with them. Are you going to speak to them in the flesh? You know, are you going to get them together in a live meeting somewhere? Are you going to get them together online in an online forum or group, maybe here on Facebook or somewhere else? Are you going to make videos and share content that way, or give information? Are you quite instructional in what you do? Do you do something like Ian, which is web design? So you can't just go, hey, look at this. How do you teach people how to do stuff that's new? So all of these other things. So, oh, you lot are making me hungry. I haven't eaten yet. I had a really long walk to Greenwich Park, and by the time I got back, finished a phone conversation, joined somebody else's Facebook Live, did another one for the Juicy Vibers. It's 7 o'clock and I'm here. So think about how you want to speak to your list. Now, if you've been going for a while, and I get this quite a lot, I get people approach me and say, look, I've been going for a while, and you know, I was teaching one thing, but now I want to share something completely different. So I feel like I'm starting again, but my list don't know. So there are things you can do to update the people on your current list, you know, like a broadcast, like an announcement. Let them know that you're doing something different. Let them know why you're doing it, because they would have built this relationship with you. And if they're anything like me, they'll be quite nosy by nature. So they want to know why you're doing this thing. And then let them know how they can find out more about the new thing that you're doing. And remember to let them know what you're doing about the old thing. So if you were like a professional crocheter and then you're going to start selling art, for example, let them know, are you still going to do the crocheting as well as the art? Or is that it? Have you just like thrown away your crochet needles and that's that, you know? So keep them in the loop, take them with you, take them on a journey with you. And then the other thing I encountered actually, I reckon it must have been last year, maybe even a bit before, and this stuck in my mind. It stuck in my mind because the person that I spoke to went into a place of fear. They'd already gone into a place of fear, not because I spoke to them, by the way, but they were really fearful about being visible. This person had a Facebook page of over 2,500 likes on there and followers, and they were telling me about the fantastic work that they did. They had three main components in their work that were all really nicely connected, although they couldn't see it. Really nicely connected. They had this big audience, but they didn't know what to say to their audience. And even in the course of the conversation, when I had a quick peek at their Facebook page, you know, there were so many mixed messages, and it wasn't clear what the person did, even though their title was very crystal clear, you know. And I spoke to this person, and they had been working with somebody else who they weren't entirely happy with, and I hear that a lot, but I don't kind of get into those sorts of conversations. That's none of my business. They weren't entirely happy with the person they'd been working with, so they came on the call with massive doubts about how anybody could help them, including me. But worst of all, they came onto the call with massive doubts about themselves and their ability. And contrary to popular belief, this is one of the biggest reasons that people don't go ahead and buy. They don't go ahead for the next thing because they're really worried about whether they can pull it off. They're worried about whether they can execute it or not. They're worried about whether they'll do a good enough job. And right there, they stop themselves. Now, when I have these sorts of conversations with somebody on the phone, my job isn't to sell them into it. My job isn't to persuade them. My job is to do a diagnostic. And it's funny because a really good friend of mine who also has a business said, like, you know, gosh, when my business expands, you are going to be responsible for doing my sales, because one of the things that I'm really great at doing is diagnosing. I ask a lot of questions, I really listen, and I find out where things aren't working, or where something needs tightening up, or where there's a gap. And it doesn't even have to be around the sales, it could be around the process of how that person comes to you, depending on the type of business you are. So one of the things that I always do on these calls is to really listen, and I could hear the gaps, and they were quite easy to mend, but I could also feel the fear. And the fear was so much that they came on the call wanting me to persuade them to work, like for us to work together, and that's not how I roll. I needed to hear where they were at, vulnerably, openly and candidly. And in the end, the person said, I feel such a connection with you, but I'm so scared of this thing happening because of this person and this person. And off they went. And I still, like all this time later, wonder about them. So sometimes you do have people that got these big audiences, but because they're not as visible as they like to think they are, or they've been told that visibility is about showing off and shouting and rah, 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 look at me, they're getting it wrong, but they're not getting that engagement with their clients. They're not getting that connection with the clients. So my form of visibility is all around people without any list, people with a list where they've decided to swap what they're doing, and people that are looking, got a big audience, and maybe they don't have that connection to grow that connection. And have that engagement so that it's a two-way conversation, so that they are sharing really great stuff and their audience is coming back to them and buying, is, I guess, my forte, is what visibility is about. And I have to say that between like the last 2 days, I have been so blessed that people that came to the event on Saturday, people that have been working with me privately, have just had all these pieces dropping in. We always look for the big goals. We look for the 6-figure days and the 10-figure months and all of that kind of stuff, when in fact some of the underpinning of this smaller stuff, the fundamentals, is what actually gets us to where we need to be. And anyone that's looking out there and saying, I don't have a list, therefore I cannot start my business, or I can't start my visibility journey, it's likely that you're watching what other people do, not just one other person, lots of other people do, and it's likely that you have a small dose of comparisonitis, where you look and say, wow, this person's amazing, I like their work, or I like this thing, or I like how they do that, and then you come away trying to cobble together the best pieces. How do I know this in so much detail? Guess what I did? And to boot, as a learning and development professional, so like a proper training manager, a proper person that can put a strategy or the direction of a business and the training which helps them to do that, I loved to learn. When I started my business, the one thing that I knew was that I had no experience of running a business. That was in 2010. So anything to do with learning how to run a business, I would go and learn. I was great at the coaching, I was great at the training, I could do the consulting work, I could make a decent cake and a decent chocolate, which is what I did initially when I started my business, for just in case. But if somebody had asked me about kind of the ins and outs of HMRC, I'd have to research it. If somebody asked me whether to go to be a limited company or, a sole trader, I'd have to say, I don't know, speak to an accountant. That's not my area of expertise. But one thing I do know for sure is that I can make visibility really, really easy. And that's why I share these tips and techniques. And in fact, I make it so easy that many people go, oh, that was great, I've got that down, thanks, I'll go off and do it. But there's always a next piece. So now you're visible. How are you going to make the sort of impression that has them gravitating magnetically towards you without kind of any language patterns or embedded commands or, hypnotic language or anything else like that? How do you get a framework that allows you to describe what you do to somebody standing right in front of you of any age and any industry, somebody at a family event like a wedding, and then somebody in a room full of like 200 people that you're standing in front of a stage and speaking to? So to me, I'm really your visibility is really important to me. And I'll go as far as to say it's more important to me than my visibility. I want you to be able to spread your ripples far and wide. I want you to experience what it's like when someone contacts you seemingly out of the blue and says, oh, I hear that you're the person to speak to about such and such and such and such. Would you like to be a guest on my show? I was writing down some of the things that I've been lucky enough to experience. Being on, I remember being interviewed for a teleseries. John DeMartini from The Secret was on the same teleseries. No, I didn't get to speak to him. All our recordings were separate, but my name was against his name. Eben Pagan, I've been on telesummits with Eben Pagan. I'm trying to think. Callum Rush was another person. I've been on telesummits with really well-known people, and I feel like that's all great for me, but I want that for you too. So some of the stuff I share might seem easy, might seem like, oh, is that it? But I promise you, if you implement it and if you do it, you'll start to receive the sorts of messages from your own clients that I've been receiving just in the past 2 days. Not just in the past 2 days, but it's almost like there's been a bombardment of them. People saying that they've got more clarity. Beata shared on here beautifully, so thank you for that. People recommending me, somebody calling me on Monday night saying, I know I need to speak to my community about visibility, and you're the only person that I know that does a really good job of it. I saw you speak at this place, so I really want you to come and speak to my audience. That kind of thing I want for you. It's not about fame, it's not about celebrity, it's about being seen and being heard, and you being able to get that excitement, that feeling in your gut that you know you were born for this, out there in the world in front of your people. So if you are watching this and you're one of the people that sits in the background and just likes to observe, I'd love to invite you to go on over to the Visibility Vibes Tribe Facebook group, because I'm having a couple of days off. There's a 2-day takeover in there, and for the next 2 days, tomorrow and Saturday, you're going to be able to share your light bulb moments, your wins, you know, what you do. Introduce yourself so that people really start to get to know you. And if you're cool on camera, you can do it by video. If you like a Facebook Live, you can do it there. If you want to share a tip, you can type it in. If you want to share a blog, you can type that in. Whichever way feels great for you. Why not do all of them? Why not take the opportunity to introduce yourself? Why not take the opportunity on a separate occasion to tell people why you're passionate about what you do? Why not take the opportunity to record a video? Why not take the opportunity to ask a question if you're feeling particularly stuck? Or if you're the person that can give the answer, why not take that opportunity? Because that, my friend, is all visibility. All visibility. You're being visible to people in the group, like-minded people who want your best, you know, for you, want the best for you and have your best at heart. So thank you so much for joining me tonight. I'm about to get off, get something to eat and hotfoot it up to Cambridge. So thank you for joining me. Please note there will not be a Visibility Made Easy tomorrow evening, but all the fun and games will definitely be happening over in the Visibility Vibes tribe. So can't wait to see, like, catch up and see what you share in there. Can't wait to learn even more about you, connect with you more, and see like how you engage other people around you, but also just to get to know you better. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you, Beata. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, France Lise. Thank you, Ali, if you're still on. Thank you, Ian. Thank you, Ruth Ellen. Thank you for joining me. Lots of love to you. Bye for now.